Hello and welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I'm your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hentz.
Hi there.
We're running the gamut today.
Yes, we are. We've got a lot of topics to hit today.
Some national, some state, and you're gonna be right in the middle with us.
And some brain food stuck in there.
Brain food is definitely stuck in there. So first off, you titled this first segment. So
I
why don't you
titled
go
this
ahead?
segment, "The Bloom is Off the Biden Rose." And the reason I said that is because everybody was, oh, this is going to be so great. He's going to be so amazing as a president. And people are turning on him and doing so in record numbers and at warp speed. So
Yep.
it's happening pretty fast here. The guy's only been in office for 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, the people who you would think would be his most ardent supporters are not so excited anymore.
Yep.
So
Well, and
a couple of
that's-
different
he
different
was
groups.
talking out of both sides of his mouth. He was making big promises, but then he would say, nope, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And so that worked for the campaign, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when people heard what they wanted to hear, they heard only the left side of the mouth or only the right side of the mouth. They're naturally going to be ticked off now when they're seeing the results out of talking out of both sides of the mouth.
First of all, he made inroads, you would think, with unions, but right now the unions are very unhappy, especially if they're energy unions, because of the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was the unions and blue-collar workers were a demographic in the United States that Trump really, really pulled in because he was all about America first. He was all about trying to increase jobs, decrease regulation, which again helps increase jobs.
Precisely.
And so he pulled them in, but with Biden's, what I would say is double talk about, no, I'm the blue collar guy, I'm your guy, you can relate to me. Scranton. But at the same time, trying to capitulate to the leftists' concerns with regard to social equity and environmental equity and all of these things, which are essentially, for the most part, all job killers
Exactly.
and all economy killers. The union is not going to be in favor of that. So as you brought up, the
Yes.
Keystone Pipeline immediately put a halt to that. So now the Keystone Pipeline brings in the oil sands, the tar sands up in Saskatchewan, brings them down, puts it on the market. So Trump made that happen after Obama.
Right.
And that was heralded as a wonderful thing in Canada. It was heralded as a wonderful thing in the United States because of the job creation.
Right.
It also puts more oil on the market and helps keep prices down, which generally is good for the consumer, although, of course, in North Dakota, that's a little double-edged sword. But yes, the union leaders, which encouraged the support for Biden based on he's a union guy, he's a labor guy, it's backfiring. And now the union leaders are, as they should, say, hey, you're killing us.
Right. And what he said, too, was really interesting. Leaving the Keystone XL pipeline permit in place would not be consistent with my administration's economic and climate imperatives.
Yeah.
That was really doublespeak. I mean, that was very interesting. Unions, of course, had championed this, and they were furious.
Yep. Well, and here's the thing. Union members, you don't be mad at Biden.
Right.
You should be mad at your union leadership.
Exactly.
They knew this was coming, and now they're acting all up in arms as though they had no idea. Wow, what a guy who's all about, who says that racism and environmentalism are his top two things. They're surprised that he's doing things to kill jobs? No, union members, your money is being spent by your leaders for political purposes, not for purposes which benefit you, not for purposes which benefit the working man and woman. Not at all. This is all political.
The thing about the pipelines, and I've never really understood why they can't understand this, but the left seems to really not grasp the fact that it is the safest, most efficient way to transport oil. I just can't understand why they wouldn't want safety. It seems like they want safety all the time, but not apparently with transportation of fuel.
Yeah, they don't want fossil fuels. And of course, it doesn't make any sense. It's a like so much they say this is what we believe, this is what we want, but if they actually got what they wanted,
Right.
They would be horrified. You know, the union leaders, we have a quote here. It's even Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stand out as the blue-collar candidates. Now, Joe's character that he plays in politics is blue collar. Joe is not blue collar.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
He-
What, 60 years
He's
and no
never
real
held-
jobs?
He's never held a real job.
I know, right?
How can you be blue collar and never had a real job?
Kind of an important safety tip to have a job. So
And you're mad at Joe Biden?
I know, right?
He's so transparent.
Yeah, that's so true.
How can you be mad at Joe Biden?
Now, in addition to the unions, there's another couple of groups that are unhappy with him, too. There are 6 attorneys general who have warned of overreach as well, and they have written a letter to him. And they say, you know what, this is not a good idea for you to be doing these things because we can handle it in the states if you want. The Administrative Procedures Act is a federal law that governs the process for agency rulemaking and has been frequently invoked to challenge executive branch rules and regulations. And he's using it. But I tell you what, these attorneys general, the main one is the guy from West Virginia, General Patrick Morrisey. Attorney General Patrick Morrisey, who's leading the group, and they also have those from Arkansas, Indiana, also Mississippi, and Montana and Texas, too, who are writing in and saying, nope, we're not happy.
Right, and that's, we would expect that. I'm glad that they are just as much as President Biden has come out with his foot on the pedal to the metal with these executive orders. I'm glad that the attorneys general are coming out to say, hey, we'd like to work with you, but if we need to go and file lawsuits, we will. I mean, certainly Trump had 157 lawsuits with regard to his executive orders.
So it's not new to sue the President of the United States, apparently.
No, it's not new at all. It's something that needs to be done, and I am confident in saying that there will be, as much as there seems to be a reason now, there will be many, many more reasons coming up in the near future. So I'm very, very happy. Hopefully, when the time comes for the appropriate lawsuits, that North Dakota will be one of the states that is going. And we are seeing, and we're going to talk on nullification, we're going to talk on a lot of stuff, but just as what's happening in North Dakota, it's happening in states all over the country, they are looking at nullifications. They are looking at ways to regain state sovereignty, to be able to have a barrier between the overreach of federal government. And what Joe's doing, and in fact, let me get to a point here. There's another group that is not overly pleased with Joe Biden, and that's the leftists themselves.
Right.
Because they are saying, Joe, it's not that we don't like what you're doing, but you're going too fast. You're ticking people off. You're alerting them. So we want to get all this stuff through, but we don't want to raise the awareness. So slow it down. Let's kind of slide some stuff under.
Just late this afternoon, Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel of the RNC put out a press release, and she said, I think many Americans are coming to the realization that there's buyer's remorse. She said people who voted for Joe Biden, who thought he was going to protect union jobs, who thought he was going to get $2,000 in stimulus check into their hand, who thought he had a plan for COVID relief and realizing it was all smoke and mirrors, and that the Trump administration was actually getting these things done, they're having buyer's remorse. I thought that was very prescient and good thinking ahead.
Yes. The Indian tribes are also having some difficulty with them. Some are. And naturally, the tribes that are having an issue are the ones that are on oil-producing lands.
Well, and they said that he usurped their sovereignty because their sovereign nation status says such that, you know what, you can't usurp our authority. I thought that was really interesting.
We have a quote here. Let's pull that up. Yeah, direct attack on our economy, sovereignty, our right to self-determination. That's true. I mean,
it's all true.
We could have 10 shows on Indian reservations and sovereignty or lack thereof, but they have a very good point. To whatever degree they have sovereignty, having the president say, I mean, allegedly it would be like us telling Canada, you can't drill. Well, what? You don't have the wherewithal to say that. So
that's a really good example, too, because it is. It's like another nation telling another nation, sorry, you don't get any money from that anymore. Sorry. So, yeah, we're going to be seeing more of these, I think, as you're right, as time goes on.
And don't forget my prediction. BLM and Antifa will turn on him because the pendulum swings. He's getting pushback now. Slow down, Joe. As soon as he slows down, he's going to get the leftists, the extreme leftists, pushing back again. his coalition, ladies and gentlemen, will fall apart, and it's going to be so enjoyable.
And it'll probably be fast, too. When we come back, we will do another segment. This time, we are going to be talking about executive orders, and we're going to go through a few of them from the Biden administration when we come back.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Heroes and Icons is now Cozy TV. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Back. Welcome, welcome, welcome to No Apologies on Beck.
That was a very hearty welcome there.
Yes. I don't know. You always catch me off guard because you're I'm
sorry.
I'm not used to
I look at him like
entertaining people so much. Okay. So next, we're
talking the very first day Biden executive orders, and he kind of went crazy, a little crazy with his executive orders right off the bat. So what we thought we would do is we would go over them little by little, at least so that you can see what they are. In case you didn't heard, maybe you just heard he gave a bunch of executive orders, or maybe you saw a meme or a graphic that said 32 or 42 or whatever it was at that time. But we actually are going to look at them a little bit. So first thing we should do is give a little setup, though, with George Stephanopoulos. Okay. Biden actually had a little exchange, so I thought we would maybe start that clip first.
So there's not going to be any delay on the tax increases?
No, well, I got to get the votes. That's why, the one thing that I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus.
Got to take a quick break.
I'm not a dictator.
Right. Yeah. So he, again, talking both sides of his mouth. So he needs the votes, he says, to get things done. If he doesn't have the votes, he was indicating that there was pressure. Just use the pen, as Obama said.
I'd say he used the pen.
Yeah. Oh, he used the pen. And so, yeah, he said you can't just do executive orders because that would make him a dictator. He's not a dictator. He incorrectly said we live in a democracy.
It's a representative republic.
Yes, and which is far different than a democracy. A democracy is a horrible, horrible thing. A democracy, it's a
Why is it
horrible
used
thing.
all the time in the press, though? Why
Because
do they
that's what,
continually
I don't
do
know,
that?
That's what we were taught.
I would just.
That's what we were taught. America is a democracy. That's what I was taught. I went to public school. Actually, I went
that
to
too.
Catholic school for a while and then public school.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, a democracy are, what is it, 2 lions and a lamb deciding what to have for dinner.
Right.
That's what a democracy is.
Yeah, it's really, it's a shame though that that word keeps being bandied about anyway.
Right.
So on day 1, this is the very first one, a regulatory freeze pending review. And what this is, we'll show you a little graphic. Okay, so the regulatory, I can say it too, I'm having one of those days. The department or agency head may delegate this power of review and approval to any other person so appointed or designated by the president, consistent with applicable law. And the reason I wanted this pull quote was because talk about holy broad, Batman. I mean, very, very broad. Any person that you want can do. That's frightening to me.
Right, and it's if they're designated by the president afternoon on January 20th,
Right?
2021. So now this one is clever. I respect.
Give him points for
I
being
respect this one.
Wily?
Because yeah, he's saying, hey, you can't listen to these other folks, but you can listen to anybody that I put into office. So
He did not write that himself.
Well, I don't know that
I don't know that he wrote any of these.
Exactly.
Are they? I have heard it surmised that it was Susan Rice who had a lot to do with this.
Yeah, isn't that something? I mean, the players from the holdovers from the Obama administration still are going to hold so much power.
So much power. I agree.
So, yeah, it's very, like I say, I mean, I guess if you were going to be a dictator, which according to Biden's definition, he is, I would absolutely say you guys can't listen to anyone except listen to all of the people I put into office. That would be step 1. I think that was very
dictatorial,
very Machiavellian of him,
Ooh, well
and
done.
I respect. Good job, Joe. As a dictator, you did very well with that one.
Hi, Marks. Do you want to move to number 2?
Let's go ahead.
Okay, number 2 is the Paris Climate Agreement.
Just a tiny little agreement.
It's just a little thing.
Nothing. Why can't we agree? Is there something wrong with agreement?
Tremendously bad move. Tremendously bad, which is interesting because I think our junior senator said in a quote that he thought as long as we put America first, we'll be fine in this one. The problem is, as I see it, I don't see Biden putting America first in anything to do with the Paris Climate Agreement.
No.
I see him putting other countries ahead of the United States of America.
The Paris Climate Agreement is a facet amongst a vast array of facets in which this whole idea of equity, they want to see that on a global scale. America is very, very powerful. They see power, they see wealth as a zero-sum game. So what they want to do is have equity in the world, which means you bring the power of the United States down. Why do you want to do that? Because the power of the United States stems from capitalism. What else stems from capitalism? Racism, evil. That's what they actually believe,
they make
right?
That jump.
So they want to see the destruction. And I know it sounds like I'm talking extreme, but I'm not. This is what they say.
Right.
So if they end capitalism, if they end property rights, then we will have equity throughout the world. And the Paris Climate Agreement is so disadvantageous to the United States that it will go leaps and bounds toward that end to bring the United States down. We will, by following that agreement, embark on things that will destroy our economy at the same time that other emerging countries are going to be bringing in coal plants and much, much more that will more than offset what the United States will destroy its economy to do. So the net effect is going to be that we will destroy our economy for nothing. But again, this is a political game. This is not about what's best for the earth.
I don't think Biden really is concerned with the cost to the U.S. That's the interesting thing to me. It's like they don't really look at, again, the collateral damage and the rest of the story. And so in this case, Biden doesn't appear to understand the cost to the United States in this. He's just more looking, as you say, to even the playing field with the rest of the world, and it's really damaging. Why not protect
we could
the country
do
of which you're president?
10 segments on the Paris Climate Agreement,
know,
and we
right?
probably will do a couple to dive in. But let's go to another executive order.
Number 3 of the executive orders on the very first day, executive order on advancing racial equity, and you've heard that word before, equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. Now this one is appalling to me because he is absolutely picking and choosing and not being equitable at all by singling out various minorities. For me, this is just so hypocritical.
Yes.
I mean, it's so hypocritical.
Yes.
I don't know.
And this is another one we can do deep dives in, but
Impartial.
they are all about racial equity, and the problem is that they see everything as stemming from racial inequity. And based on having that goal, they will say that the end is racial equity. Anything is going to be the means, so long as they say, well, we need that, and you can see that with everything that they've disagreed with. They will say that one of the reasons that you need to support what we believe in is racial equity.
Underserved populations. One of these little buzzwordy type things that they use. Underserved populations. Well, you know, you can, again, pick and choose those underserved ones as much as you want and get your facts to back it up, I guess.
The other thing that I don't like about their whole approach is, and the approach of BLM, a severely Marxist organization, is that they are actually reversing the progress we made in the United States and in the world since the days of Martin Luther King Jr., of not looking and not judging based on one's skin color. They are only about one's skin color. That is all they are about, and it takes us backwards. It's a horrible, evil thing that they're doing, and again, they're doing it not for the betterment of any specific people, but for political gain.
Agreed. Pandering.
Yes.
Okay, so when we come back, we are going to have another legislative guest, another superstar for you in the seat when we come back.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
Everybody needs an off-season, but our announcers have a tough time slowing down.
Hey, do you mind if I practice a little bit? Right on, really big man. Johnson holds, shoots, he scores!
Incredible! For the second time today, Brent has jammed the printer.
Lowry's third caramel roll of the day. That's a bold move.
And he drains one. Blind squirrel finds a nut. And back to normal.
Beck News brings you real people and real news.
every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck, your after-hours oasis of
sanity.
We are here with a special guest, Representative Dan Ruby. Welcome, Dan.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on. Dan has been in the legislature, I think, since North Dakota got statehood. When were you first elected, Dan?
I was elected in 2000.
2000. Yes. That's not that long ago, I guess. So, so Dan was one of the very few people before I got in the legislature, maybe the only person that I was aware of as a true conservative to look to follow, and see what a good conservative legislator looks like and what they do. So.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you here. You're from Minot, District 38.
That's right.
I remember. I remember going up there. And it's a good district, too.
Yeah, it's great. It's kind of a combination of city and rural, and half of the Air Force Base, and some smaller towns like Burlington and Des Lacs. And so, yeah, it's quite a mix, but it's a great area.
It's a good people, too.
Cool. I like so, Dan, you've got a few bills out. Dan is the chairman of the Transportation Committee, on which I sit.
Correct.
So we're not talking about transportation bills tonight, though, although we've got several interesting ones, speed limits, seat belts, and so forth. But you've got a couple of bills up that deal with some of these very questionable activities like drinking and smoking.
So, what I like about it, though, it's very, very hip topics. I mean, the very cool things going on, like cigar smoking and microbreweries. Those are big deals right now. They're huge right now.
Yeah.
Well, we call him Dan the Hipster Ruby.
You do now.
Yeah. I've never been called that, but yeah.
Yeah. So the first one up, House Bill 1265. No. 1152. We are looking at for a cigar lounge or cigar bar, I guess. We have got a highlighted text here from the bill, which says if you've got a valid certificate issued by the tax commissioner, meaning a tobacco certificate, if you have a humidor on the premises, it's enclosed with solid walls or windows, a ceiling door, equipped with a ventilation system, which I guess is unto itself, so you're not going to have to worry about neighboring if you have a multi-tenant building. This is where you can now have a cigar lounge. So this is going against the flow of the whole non-smoking in any public areas thing. What year did that take place?
In 2012. The initiated measure removed all smoking in workplaces, and that included even cigar bars. It also included the vaping, and it was one of the most comprehensive ones passed in the nation. And I thought it was a little too strict, especially in the case of a cigar bar, but if you try to make a change to initiated measure within 7 years, it takes 2/3 of both bodies of the legislature to pass. So that wasn't going to happen for that, and I understand, but I think now is the time to maybe dial it back a little bit and allow something that adults are participating in. Now, thanks to a federal law in 2019, smoking tobacco is at the age of 21 now, and our state law is being adjusted to accommodate for that, so there's no loss in federal dollars. But so to smoke tobacco product, you have to be 21, and to drink alcohol, you have to be 21. So I don't see any problem with an adult being able to go into an establishment and participating in an activity that involves 2 legal products.
Seems like freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree with you more. It's a legal product. So either government officials, elected officials, should stand by, if they think that it's something that shouldn't be done, then make it illegal. But if it's illegal, stay the hell out of our business. I think that's, and I know that's kind of your has been always your general position. The cigar lounge, I think I read it needs to have 30% of the net sales or net revenue from sales of tobacco products.
Of cigars, and the way it's written, I cloned it from the bill that was introduced in the Senate last session, but because it was within the 7 years, they realized it was going to take the 2/3 vote. So I just copied that bill, and it takes 30% of sales of cigars for a cigar lounge, 10% if it's a cigar bar.
Okay.
And so there's a distinction because some bars may put in an area, or there might be a tobacco store and then a cigar bar that isn't necessarily a full lounge. And the lounge, it's pretty expensive to set up the humidors and all that.
Right, I was just going to say that it's not cheap to do a humidor. I mean, nor probably the HVAC that it takes to do the separate ventilation too.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be. I hope it's well received. I think there's a lot of people that you wouldn't expect are supporting of not only of people having the ability to smoke cigars. They're not something you see somebody standing outside in the freezing cold to smoke because they take a while. So you don't quite have
That's a good point. That's a great point, actually.
Yeah, you don't have quite the same addiction to it as cigarettes, but so it takes a while. You need a place inside, and it's a great way to enjoy some time with some friends and or family members and have a cigar and maybe a bourbon or scotch or something like that and enjoy. And there was one in Minot that was only beer. It was only a beer bar and a cigar bar, but it also had a cigar shop that was adjacent to it. So
yeah, it seems very reasonable to me. Now the 10%, it may sound low, but I mean 10% for a bar for their total revenue. I mean a bar, depending on the situation, may have a revenue of easily $500,000, $1 million. To sell $100,000 worth of cigars, I mean, that's substantial. So I don't think if there's a fear that, well, every bar out there is going to suddenly qualify for 10%, I don't think that's the case.
You won't see these in the small towns or anything. It's going to take larger cities that are going to generate that kind of activity and revenue to justify it. And they have to provide information to the tax office that verifies it, and if they don't, of course, they won't get another permit. So that's annual. So
now your other bill that we are going to talk about is 1265, HB 1265, and this one is dealing with microbreweries, which are all the rage right now. They're proliferating at a fast pace. And this one, a microbrew pub may.
Are you struggling to read that?
I can't read it today.
May sell and deliver beer in a brewery sealed containers holding 12 ounces, manufactured by the microbrew pub to licensed retailers within the state if the brewer uses the brewer's own equipment, trucks, and employers to deliver it. If the deliveries are limited to the case equivalent of 8 barrels per day to each retailer, and the total amount of beer sold to all retailers does not exceed 10,000 barrels a year.
Thank you. Thanks for helping out. Like, that's a lot, and it's really tiny.
I've got my spectacles on. I can see that. So, I mean, that's, I'm going to guess, because I've dealt in this world a bit, and as a legislator, have dealt with things that have loosened up regulations just a little bit, and I'm guessing that there's going to be a tremendous pushback from the distributors. Is that?
Yes. It was heard last week, and they already came in, or the week before it was held. And last week I did meet with some of the people involved, some of the brewers, some of the distributors, and there is another bill in the Senate side that deals with brew pubs as well, and that deals with contract brewing. And so we're talking about possibly merging the two into one. Basically, the meat of my bill is the ability to self-distribute.
And we'll probably do an amendment that will allow maybe up to what they consider half a barrel, or it's a 16-gallon keg per retailer per day. But we might even move that to a longer period of time. It's going to allow a small brew pub or a new brew pub to do some self-distribution to promote their product, get it in the hands of the other bars that, you know, is probably not worth it for the distributor to take up the time to pick it up, deliver it on such small quantities. And once they develop the market for it and the demand for it, then of course the distributors are the obvious choice to use to transport their product.
I have a question for you, and you only have 30 seconds.
Okay.
But my question is how did this one come about? Is there some push from people who want to be able to distribute their product?
Yes, I had a couple that asked me about it, and you know, it's maybe not as much as others. That people say, well, you're only doing it for one. Well, it's not just for one.
Yep.
And that is a key thing for many of them, just as it's been for the wineries and the distilleries when they first came up with their ability to sell and to promote their product.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Dan, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Anytime.
I appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you.
I'm sure we'll have you back on again. You're a true leader. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with more. We've got brain food next. Hang with us.
Folks, it's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef in all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. It's time for brain food.
Just almost said with Becker.
With Becker. on Beck.
Yeah, it is confusing. Okay, so we've got brain food today, and my first word has to do with your brain. So it's perfect, and I think this is one of our producer's words that maybe they said in my ear. The earpiece is called an IFB, and every now and then they'll say things, and it seems to me that this is from where this comes. The word is synapses, and in the central nervous system, a synapse is a small gap at the end of a neuron that allows a signal to pass from one neuron to the next. And synapses are found where nerve cells connect with other nerve cells. They are basically the key to the brain's function, especially when it comes to things like memory. And the term synapse was first introduced in 1897 by physiologist Michael Foster in his textbook of physiology, and it is derived from the Greek synapsis, meaning conjunction, which I thought was cool. There are two main types of synapses. There is the chemical synapses and the electrical synapses. And if you used it in a sentence, somebody told me, okay, you need to use it in a sentence so we can understand that. This is a really confusing sentence, but we conclude that from their early functioning, synapses from sensory neurons are strong, and from sensory pathway, interneurons are weak. And in simple layman's terms, synapses are those tiny connections between the little neurons in your brain.
Yes.
Synapses. If they're working correctly, good memory. Not so much, not so good memory.
The synapses are between the dendrites.
The dendrites.
The dendrites are like the arms, and the synapses are the gap between.
The gap between. Things jump from one to the other.
Yep.
Super cool. So synapses today.
Alrighty, I've got the Magna Carta Libertatum. That's Latin. Yes.
I looked it up. Libertatum.
Okay, and that it stands for the Great Charter of Freedom. So mostly we don't say Libertatum anymore.
Right.
We just say Magna Carta. This is what it looks like. Now, the
Highly
Magna Carta
influential,
is known as one of the great founding documents of freedom, and it was in 1215. I found the history of this really fascinating because, you know, I always thought of it as this well, kind of like the Declaration of Independence. I mean, sure, the Declaration of Independence is founded upon so many other documents, things that occurred for centuries. Same with the Constitution. And so, but the degree to which the Magna Carta was not this like whammo document, it was one in a succession, a series of multiple different documents. And I think of our founding fathers when they pulled together our couple of big documents. They were really thinking political philosophy and what was good for mankind. I mean, the Magna Carta was like a deal between a crappy king of England, which was King John, and the barons who didn't like King John because they liked King Richard, who was his brother. And they're like, Richard was awesome, you suck, you seem very arbitrary in your ruling, and we don't like that, this is what we want. And so they put constraints on him. The Magna Carta didn't even work. It failed in the first year. So there were preceding documents, there were succeeding documents, but the point is that for whatever reason, the Magna Carta stands out, and it had several, I think 63 clauses. It had 63 clauses. A lot of them were particular to the barons and, you know, not necessarily relatable. However, in that, those 63 clauses, it included various liberties, also takings. So eminent domain, for instance.
Wow.
If the government took something, they had to pay you for it. They had to compensate you for it. So that was interesting. And then they also had habeas corpus in there, which is really important, which is my next brain food we'll get to after yours.
All right. My next word is specious. And the reason I choose this one is because I love the sentence. By and large, they made these changes with specious explanations or no explanation at all. And I thought that was really a good sentence with regard to what's going on in the administration right now in the White House. Okay, so definition of specious: having a false look of truth or genuineness, sophistic, having deceptive attraction or allure. So something that is attractive to people, much like a bait and switch type of situation, is specious. Specious is my word.
Interesting.
The first known use of specious was in 1513, not cited by whom or by whatever, by Merriam-Webster, but it was 1513. It is Middle English, visually pleasing from Latin speciosus, beautiful, plausible, specious.
Interesting. I always think of specious as being an adjective to the word argument.
Specious argument. That's a great place for it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
Specious argument.
All right, in our final 1 minute of brain food, get nourished by this. It is habeas corpus. And that is not from Harry Potter.
Right.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
Habeas corpus.
Habeas corpus. That's great.
Yeah, and Hermione.
Oh, Hermione. Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
I was always disappointed that Hermione and Harry didn't get married and have children.
Agreed. I think that we're off on a tangent a little bit, but
Okay.
I absolutely agree with you on that. No,
Right.
You're exactly right.
So habeas corpus, it means commanding of the body, I believe. Corpus certainly means body. And so this deals with unlawful imprisonment and or unlawful detention. So you have the right to go in front of the court. In other words, to have your body be brought in front of a judge to say, hey, I am illegally being detained. I am unlawfully imprisoned. And that's a huge thing. You can't have the government just imprison you without giving you due process. So this was something that was looked at and included way back in 1215 in the Magna Carta. Interestingly, it was suspended by Abraham Lincoln in the Civil War. Yes.
Very interesting brain food today, thank you. As always, my brain is growing. And when we come back, we will talk about another subject. This time, we are going to talk a little bit about some emergency powers.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather, like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Rush hour traffic in North Dakota? It's almost unheard of, Noah.
I'm speechless. It's something you just don't see around here, especially at this hour of the day.
Brian, can you say anything from your perspective?
Guys, I can. All of this traffic is because some doofus drove off the road.
Doofus? Well, let's hope you can help him out of there. No. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
All right, great job.
Yeah, that went very well.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Apologies, segment 5, cinco, cinque, fünf.
I only can count to 3 in Korean. Sorry,
Okay.
I can't help you. So.
You could say 3 plus 2.
Yes.
All right, so segment 5, we are going to be talking about certain bills that are coming up, have been coming up, in the North Dakota State Legislature with regard to limiting the governor's powers or the executive orders or the state of emergency. Now, there are so many, and it's not just North Dakota. It's
So
not
many
just
executive powers.
so there are so many actions. There are so many areas that we're looking at, and as I was saying, it's not just it's not just North Dakota. It's not just disgruntled specific employees, legislators like myself. It's all across the country because COVID-19 set a new precedent, a new standard, something that we have never encountered, certainly in our lifetimes. And so we're looking at these things because the governors, the executive branch, their overreach is so significant and severe that this is a kind of a standard thing now. So if we look at several, and we've talked about some of these before, House Concurrent Resolution 3007 is mine. And what it does is it ends the state of emergency. We've talked about this before. There is a reason that I wanted to bring it up one more time. Yeah, and you see here, it's very simple. It just says, hey, the state of emergency that the governor declared on March 13th, coming up on 11 months ago.
Wow, almost 11 months.
Resulting from COVID-19 is terminated. That's it.
Where is it at right now in moving through the legislature?
As far, I don't know if it got voted on in committee today. They held it. They've been holding it. So here's the thing. Why I wanted to bring that up is because there was a little bit of a plot twist. Okay. So the governor and the governor's people, sycophants.
Right.
No, the people that work for him came out in opposition to the resolution. They don't want the state of emergency to end. A lot of their concerns were dismantled, were found to not be true, that we would lose CARES Act funding, that students learning remotely wouldn't be able to do that anymore. Those were the two bigs, and they were completely debunked. So the bill, the resolution, was going to get a due pass recommendation from the committee, but they hadn't voted on it. The night before or the morning of the committee voting on it, it was discovered something that I was not aware of, that the governor was not aware of, but it turns out that there is one type of funding that may be lost, and that is emergency SNAP funds, which are food stamps.
Got it.
Okay, and it could be up to $2.8 million per month. It goes to 1,500 families, $184 per month per family, so it's kind of a big deal. Now, the thing is, I spoke with the head guy in the USDA, and I said, so what's the scoop with this? And he said, well, yep, the wording is that there has to be a state declared emergency, but I can't tell you that you're going to actually lose the funding. So I'm like, wow, okay, that's interesting.
Not helpful.
If we lose the funding, it probably is going to not pass in the House.
Right.
But here's my thing, here's my take.
Do you have a workaround?
A lot of people, well, not necessarily. But the thing is that as long as the state of emergency is in effect for at least one day of the month, SNAP funding comes for that month. So it's obviously we're already in February. SNAP funding is going to come for February. The legislature can say, you know what, we're going to end the state of emergency. This is crazy. The states of emergency are not designed to go on forever. The governor, my mom always taught me, where there's a will, there's a way. If the governor has an interest in continuing the SNAP funding outside of a state of emergency, he can look into it. He can look for workarounds. He can look for requests for variance. He has until the end of March to figure out if we can continue SNAP funding. If it turns out we get rid of the state of emergency and the governor can find no workaround, on or before March 31st, he can simply say, you know what, I reinstate the state of emergency, and SNAP funding continues. So I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. I think we should ask the governor, hey, you know what, you recognize, I'm sure you do, you have to, we recognize this is not proper governance. We're going to end the state of emergency. We want you to continue looking for workarounds to continue the food stamps for those in need, and you know what to do. So that's the first one.
Okay.
All right, next one, House Bill 1260. And this is another one. So I just pulled mine up. There's a lot out, but this is another one of mine. And it says that if there is anything which requires reduced hours of business, that there will be no salary going to the governor or the legislators. Now, this got a 13-1 do not pass recommendation from the committee. But what I did is I said, you know what, can we take it back to committee? What I want to do is put in there that it doesn't apply to natural disasters.
Right.
Because that's the one argument that I think you can have for voting against it.
Well, exactly.
So that's going to go back in, and then the committee will vote on it. We'll see. Because if the governor and the legislature says, yeah, it's no big deal, you can close businesses, we're not worried about it, this makes them have skin in the game. They lose their salaries if they do this.
Well, and in my mind, an executive order is meant for natural disasters. That's that's what it's for, so that everything can run smoothly and things, you know, people can be safe for that reason because of the natural disaster. That makes perfect sense about it. So that's a good idea.
Exactly. Last one, another one of mine, House Bill 1386. If you look here at this graphic, I can't go, we don't have time for an explanation, but it's in gray because I did what they call a hog house. I completely took out all of my language and added in new language. This just gets rid of the gray area. The governor is allowed to lift restrictions. Regulations.
Okay.
The governor in a state of emergency can lift regulations. He can't make new regulations.
But he can take them away.
He can take them away. He can't cause businesses to close early. He can't cause the capacity to be reduced. That's not in his power. The health officer can, but only if they go to a judge and ask for certain businesses or industries to be closed, and in every district court. The governor doesn't have that. This simply says, you know what, it's in our current statute. If you read it carefully, it's just that no one has challenged the governor legally. No one has taken the time, taken their money to make a lawsuit. So this just basically says, you know what, that gray area that somehow the governor is wiggling around in, we're gonna get rid of the gray area. It's no nonsense. You cannot create fiat legislation during a state of emergency.
Well, join us again tomorrow. We're going to have another legislator here, and we're going to talk about nullification. Do not miss it. See you then.